start to soar, and you live as you've never lived before. Great revolutionary meeting yesterday with Tim Anderson and other people, Seattle Spokes Council. Great idea, good conversation. We even did a live stream of it. You can see that in my video stream. I did live streaming of part of it, although I think you're missing some of the really good conversation was before the live stream, but maybe that's just the way it's always going to be. Discussion of the Occupy movement, why the Occupy movement failed, and I think that the best part of that discussion was before we started live streaming, but I'm sure it'll come up again. Talked about the Umbrella Revolution in Hong Kong, mentioned Tahrir Square, talked about live streaming from Occupy and Occupy camps. Talkment, I suppose. But I'm not sure. Could you even say there's a movement right now? Or not a singular movement. There's a couple. The Me Too movement. There's like a women's movement. But I don't know what. I'm not sure if it's all really. Is it the presidential campaign and people focused on that as if that's the most important thing? The U.S. presidential campaign is a tool to be used for seeking utopia and building a better world, but it is not the central key, because as we saw with electing, Obama, electing a pretty great person into office doesn't really change the fundamental dynamics of the country, much less all the deals and compromises a person has to make to become president under this system. You just can't do it without getting dirty, I don't think. Although, Obama did really well. There was no significant scandal for him, but the scandal with President Obama was that he did a massive reform of healthcare, but he used the big pharma and big insurance companies as negotiating players in the restructuring of our healthcare systems. Need to be subservient to people at all times. The people need to decide what they want, and then they can decide what corporations fit into the picture. Like compare it to the way legalization of pot was done in Washington State. You said, all right, we want people to be able to buy pot. So how do we want this structured? What type of businesses do we want to come into existence? So they separated the industry into three-part retail stores. So they said we want 3 different types of corporations to exist, 3 different businesses. They cannot be the same one. And then they put nice regulations in there. And it's worked. We successfully sell pot all over Washington State, make lots of money. And we have certain corporations that exist. The regulators are comfortable with having the corporations, split up like this, and the health need of having pot available to people in Washington State to enhance their lives works. So we basically, really, if we just think of the healthcare industry like that, let's see, anyways, who cares what I'm talking about? So, how should the U.S. healthcare industry be structured? What corporations are useful to exist? Let's see. Hospitals and medical facilities that provide medical care. They should be corporations of whatever form they want. They could be private, public, nonprofit. Doesn't matter. Medical research. All that can be whatever it wants to be. Private, public. I am in favor, of course, of us using our money and funding as much, medical and scientific research as possible, because I'm really in favor of the advancement of science and technology. I think it also will save our lives and extend life. So, that's step one. Corporations that provide care, whether they're public or private. What other type of organization needs to exist? Well, we need some organization. If we want universal health care, we want to have money to provide health care. I mean, either we just have these medical facilities that provide care, and people, if you have money or you have insurance, whatever, you can use these medical care. Otherwise, you're out of luck. That would be the libertarian view. Libertarians say, let them die in the street. I mean, the purest libertarian view is we do not need to care for each other's needs. That's my basic understanding. I believe Ron Paul actually, he stood behind that view that, someone doesn't have money for medical care, you let them, and they're tough out of luck. But if we want to live in a society that has compassion and that does believe in trying to achieve universal health care, universal access to health care, then what corporation do we need to help make that possible? We need a corporation, an organization of some sort that collects money from the populace, which would normally be tax of some sort. Some way of getting money from the people here so we can then use that money to help pay for the health care of people, or some sort of system of providing for health care. Now, that corporation could be the U.S. government, the federal government, could be the state government, could be a county government, could be a new special purpose district. Why not a special purpose district that is big? That covers the entire United States. A special purpose district for healthcare. And it collects taxes, and it functions completely outside of the federal government or state government as a separate entity with enormous transparency and immunity from the goddamn influences of lobbyist money and special interests. I'm just going to go with this, all right? Let's go with this idea. Forget Medicare for all. Let's create the United States Healthcare, Universal Healthcare Authority or something like that. Shine a light on a bunch of weasels, like chewing on a carcass. Find the corporation sitting there in the healthcare system. How would it work? Well, you need a way for it to get money, so it would have to be able to tax. So it would have to take over the taxing power of Medicare, Medicaid. Well, let's assume you figure out the money part. It has a way to get tax, to get money, and then it figures out a way to distribute the money to pay for healthcare. So how would it be run? How would you structure it? It needs a elected board it's like simply a simple goal. That would be it. We give it a really clear mission and goal, and so that you have that to resolve disputes rather than which lobbyist is giving you the most money. You use the mission or goal of the entire special purpose district. Why not just Jefferson Healthcare? Jefferson Healthcare, the U.S. healthcare authority called Jefferson Healthcare. I like it. You know, and then why even stop at the world? Make it just like global special purpose district covering Earth. I don't know. Okay, off the top of my head, it needs an elected board guiding it, and oh man, let's be crazy. How about 3 people? An elected board of 3 people. I mean, I just don't even know enough about healthcare to be elected board of 5 people. Who should be the ultimate authority of it? Then you choose a president or administrator of it. But in any case, so what it would do, its mission would be to make sure everyone has healthcare and figure out how to flow the money. So everyone, we'd go back to the Bill Clinton model where he stood at the State of the Union and he held up a card. Everyone gets this card. You're a member of the U.S. Healthcare Authority, Universal Healthcare Authority, and you are, you pay taxes, and you have a very simple, reasonable processing of your bills and coding. You care, you get care, you get paid, and all the money skips. The money has to go through a mechanism that goes beyond all congressmen. They need to remove the power of the purse from Congress when it comes to the fine details of allocating money to healthcare, and allow a legitimate parallel institution that is actually immune to bribery and oh yeah, okay, so it would have no meetings in private. All meetings would be public. So anyone that wants to come and ask for something, they have to do it in a live stream meeting. So this would have hundreds of meetings a day, and they're all live streamed all over the U.S. Just like that would be the key. Just like transparency up the wazoo for this entire institution, and that alone would help it evolve into something impressive. Someone said why the Occupy movement failed. Someone said yesterday during the meeting it failed because the people of Occupy, the Occupy protesters, failed to focus on a goal or to clearly specify what steps or things they wanted done or something like that. Some sort of failure of the Occupy people for saying something or doing something. I said, I respectfully disagree. I don't think that's the reason Occupy. Symbolic central camp, for some reason, in New York, Zuccotti Park, center of the Occupy Wall Street revolution. And Zuccotti Park was a privately owned park. It was a privately owned by a corporation. My gosh, how lucky can you get? The revolution is on private property. So why did everyone go home? Why did everyone in the umbrella movement go home in Hong Kong? The revolution was not done. They went home because they didn't really know what to do. They just in the U.S., the camps got raided. that immediately lets it just go get corrupted the same old way. Probably the day they start forming the government, just like in Egypt in Tahrir Square, the revolution succeeded, but the military is the one that said, okay, we agree with you protesters, we're going to let that revolution continue. And the military took over control and said they would, I believe the story is they would hold elections and stuff, but instead they're like, oh, this is kind of nice being in control, we'll just keep doing that forever. And then they just don't know how to, no one can figure out how to form a government without it being a chaotic mess of power mongers and selfishness. Technology is to a point where someone should be able to hack together a way of networking people and networking wealth and money and networking votes and the power of voting in a way that circumvents the ability to corrupt it. Largely, at least, most of the mechanisms of corruption. Platform that people try to use to unite the people into a new way of communicating and connecting. Everyone builds those platforms to make profit. They can't resist the temptation of leveraging it for their own profit. And I don't think you're going to build the platforms that serve humanity if you are focused on profit. You gotta just let that go. Money will flow, but you can't be focused on the meeting yesterday that there are platforms being developed that are going to enable humanity to self-govern. But I didn't get like an update on what these platforms are. That would be a good topic for a next connection. What are the platforms being built? What's their status? Yeah. I almost feel like Twitter is almost usable for that now. Everyone went home from the Occupy movement, Occupy revolution. But luckily, we don't live in Hong Kong, because everyone went home from the Hong Kong umbrella revolution. And what happened? What happened to the leaders of that revolution, that movement? They got jailed after everyone went home. They let things die down, waited a few months, then trumped up charges of sedition or something, you know, whatever, causing a disturbance by encouraging the blockading of the streets until they arrested them. So they're in jail, prison. Tell you, I don't think you want to be in a prison in Hong Kong or China. Why'd the tanks come? Because they would not leave Tiananmen Square. And they knew the revolution was happening. There was going to be democracy in China. But the tanks came in. They had the bigger guns. They didn't want revolution. And so the bigger guns used the bigger guns until they killed enough people that they could squash it. That's how violence plays out. Should have stayed there in Tiananmen Square and gotten slaughtered. I'm just saying, if the people don't go home, then they win. It'd be nice if the military and the people driving the tanks and shooting the guns also was paying attention and using their brains to think about what type of world they want to live in, what is right or wrong, not just taking orders like robots. In theory, that's kind of what happened in Egypt, Tahrir Square. Their military was like, nah, we're going to stop killing the people. And yeah, we're just going to take over. You know? That's fine. Maybe that's what the U.S. military and the police forces need to do. They need to say, yeah, we actually agree with the protesters. So, back to Zuccotti Park. I mean, what a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant thing to have the focal point of the revolution be in Zuccotti Park, private property. Private property. You know what that means? You know what they could have done? What one billionaire could do? Buy Zuccotti Park. Buy it. Just find out how much money it would take to buy Zuccotti Park. Just buy it. It was private property. Could have gone on forever. Could have been educating people. Could have been organizing people. Could have been live streaming. Could have been facilitating and educating people and facilitating and educating people. Bringing people together and educating. Stimulating, connecting. But instead, they let the police kick them out of Zuccotti Park, kick them out of all the other camps. Most of the camps were not on private property. They were mostly on, like, Capitol or hall grounds, which is much harder to hold permanently. And then the police kicked them all out. What they all do? They're like, go home. Revolution over. Why not move these camps of people to new property? Just move the park. Have some backup locations to move your park that are on private property that you control. Now the problem, I guess, with private property is they can like come after you, the private property owner, for having, you know, a revolutionary camp on their property. It leaves the private property owner open to some attacks and liability. There certainly is a route there, so there is. But then you got to be, you know, just got to be like a MASH unit, you know, ready to move to public property, private property. Maybe just move around, different properties, spread out. Point is, you keep the revolution going. You keep the people there. You keep them coming. More people come. More places to stay. Keep on meeting, networking, talking, educating, dancing, singing, eating together, talking, debating, 24 hours a day. That was the power of the Occupy camps, 24 hour a day. Brain cross-fertilization, helping people figure out what needs to be done, what can we do, coming up with ideas of things to try, struggling, learning about conflict and communication and ego. Yep, just need that 24 hours a day. Let it clean up brains like a virus, like a good virus, cleaning up the brains. Brains. Cleaning up the brains. Tactics. Thinking about what are the best tactics for any situation. There should be a tactical think tank. Police are trying to surround your Occupy march, your massive Occupy march through Philadelphia. What should you do? Maybe split the Occupy march. If you can like split it and send it in two different directions, you force the police to split their resources, then split again. You know, you just need a few people to coordinate this cell splitting, just like a few cell phones, earpieces connecting, you know, 5 people. I mean, five really coordinated leaders that communicate well on a live connection together, maybe also with other people, and they, you know, lead the marches, go for a dance around the city with these mobile marches, and just sort of like paralyze the world and get it to dance and think about revolution, think about what we can achieve, and then be ready with some really good ideas, tactics. How can we circumvent the powers of the power mongers and power pools of the current system? What can we do? What structures can we put in place or leverage that will take us outside of that power system completely? As well as how can we work the system?